Last week, we talked a little bit about our environment and how that impacts many of the behavior choices that we make. I wanted to build on that concept just to discuss from more of a global standpoint all the different things that impact how we may be feeling, how we can get the positive adaptations we're hoping for in the gym, how we can overcome an injury, all the different things that impact that. And I like to describe this by thinking about the analogy a lot of people like to use to describe the human body, which is a car, right? And I get it. Cars have an engine. It gives a good correlation to the power we can generate when we're in the gym or performing a sport or whatever the case may be. We can think of our frame as being the actual structure of our body, right? Our bones, our ligaments, etc. And then when something breaks in our body, right, we have a tear, an injury, whatever the case may be, we can think about that as being like a breakdown in the car where maybe they need to go to a mechanic and a part gets replaced or something like that. But it can work in some places, but it's not always a great analogy because the big difference between our cars and ourselves is that a car is complicated, it is not complex. We as human beings, we are complex. So what by that is a car, I do not understand how an engine works. That's not something that my brain processes very well. I can't go in my driveway and fix my car if something's wrong with my engine. But if I wanted to, I could go learn those things. I could go to mechanic school and then learn how to operate on a certain type of vehicle. And then the vehicle is not going to magically, right, spark a new or generate, I should say, a new spark plug, right? It's not changing consistently. But the human body is. The human body is always changing and adapting to the stimuli that it receives from the environment, right? So, for as an easy example, if you go to the gym and you work out real hard and you do that consistently, your body will respond to that stress by creating muscles, right? By creating more muscle tissue and hypertrophy is. And the car doesn't quite work like that. It's not always adapting to stimuli of the environment. So we need to appreciate that and therefore appreciate all the different stimuli that come into us at all times, right? We have things coming in through our eyes, through our ears, our senses, right? We have maybe our day-to-day stress that impacts things. Well, last week I talked about how our environment can influence a lot of things and the impact a change in setting can have, right? We have, if somebody's recovering from surgery in a hospital, it makes a difference to have windows in the room. Just having that natural light actually can improve patient outcomes just in terms of just feeling, getting all the good things it brings to you. And we need to appreciate that. So when you hear somebody talk about how our body is like a car, maybe we need to go and get a little tune up or maybe get a part replaced, aka go get surgery, things like that. We don't quite work that way. We have to understand all the other systems that are going to be impacted by that. So for example, if you go and you get a surgery, right? They may be repair a ligament, tendon, whatever the case may be, there was a change to the joint or to the area that was operated on that then is going to be a different input that the body is then going to receive, which then means it's going to respond a certain way. So we don't know how it's going to respond. Everybody's a little bit different, but we need to factor that in. Is the body going to respond well to this change in our anatomy or trauma that occurred where maybe you can develop an excessive pain response in that area because it wants to avoid perhaps using that in a whole host of different reasons, or does it just have a hard time acclimating to this change because it has to factor that in with the environment, all the things that are out there. So that's one example. Another one is when we think of patients as they work with us, if maybe this sounds like you're working with us, you want to return to your sport soon. We have in treatment, we have gone through all the things we need to. We got your range of motion back, your baseline strength is solid. We've gotten on the turf and running around and moving and cutting and jumping and doing all the sport specific stuff we can. Maybe we even simulated your sport a little bit. But one thing we can't simulate is the environment. We can't simulate the environment of maybe, let's say it's football, and you are, let's say, a running back. We can't simulate 11 people trying to come and tackle you and rip the ball out of your arms while there's also people in the crowd cheering and yelling and the pressure of the moment and your coach yelling at you from the side and the state of fatigue you may be in, all those different things. So we have to understand how complex we are and all the different things that can influence stuff. So if you're perhaps not getting the result that you want or not progressing as quickly as you want in regards to your recovery from an injury, or maybe you're getting a little frustrated with your training that you're doing on your own or whatever the case is, we need to also think a little outside the box and say, well, what are the other factors that may be influencing this issue here if I'm doing all the things theoretically right in this one area? So I hope that different perspective can help you there. And if you're somebody who is struggling a little bit, I would definitely encourage you to contact us because we can really help piece those things together for you Something that I know our team is uniquely skilled at being able to do, to really think outside the box, look at the overall picture, and maybe help find some solutions to maybe some of these mysteries that may be out there. So if that's something you're interested in, contact us. We would love to be able to help you.